This is the Yongnuo 33mm f1.4 APS-C lens for Sony E-mount, and it's awesome. It costs $285 and has great build quality, autofocus performance, zero focus breathing, a close minimum focus distance, fantastic image quality, and an f1.4 aperture for cinematic subject separation or low light shooting. In my opinion, this focal length, roughly 50mm in full frame terms, is very versatile. I'm using it right now to film this talking head portion, but it also works very well for product shots, street photography, landscapes, cityscapes, and much more. Regardless, Yongnuo sent me this lens for free a couple of weeks ago to test and review with my Sony ZV-E10 and ZV-E1, and today I would like to share with you my experience with it. First of all, I have two copies of this lens because the first one I received was faulty as soon as I got it. I tried mounting it on both of my cameras but couldn't get the autofocus or manual focus to work. I think what happened is that the motors inside the lens may have been damaged during transport, but regardless, I sent a video showing the issue to Yongnuo and they promptly sent me a new copy, which I'm using right now to film this. And as you can see, it works perfectly fine. I'm sure this is a rare case. Something like this has never happened to me before. However, I want to be as transparent as possible with you guys. Moving on, the build quality of this lens is fantastic. It's made almost entirely of metal except the lens hood, but including the lens mount, which has a rubber gasket to prevent dust and water entering the camera. But as far as I know, it's not fully weather sealed. In terms of size, it's fairly compact for an f1.4 lens. It's more or less the same size as my full frame Sony 35mm 1.8 and weighs 380 grams, which is not too bad at all. And in terms of features, this lens has a USB-C port for firmware upgrades, a customizable function button, an autofocus manual focus switch that can also be used to pair the Yongnuo BR-L1 remote and remotely control the focus or set A/B focus points, a very smooth aperture ring with a click on-off switch, and a 58mm filter thread. Moving on, the focus ring is extremely smooth to use. The focus throw is about 300 degrees. The minimum focus distance is 41 centimeters, which is pretty good for a 50mm equivalent lens. And I'm happy to say that it's sharp wide open at the minimum focus distance, which is not the usual case with budget lenses. The autofocus works flawlessly with my ZV-E10. It's practically silent and grabs focus really quickly without any focus hunting, but most importantly, if you are into focus pulling or stacking shots, it doesn't exhibit any focus breathing at all, which is very rare at this price point. Now, in terms of image quality, this lens is great, but not perfect. It has a lot of vintage character to it, especially when shooting wide open. At f1.4, it's very sharp in the center, decently sharp in the corners, but there is significant vignetting. Stopping down to f1.8 slightly increases overall sharpness, but dramatically improves vignette performance, and stopping down to f2.8 dramatically increases overall sharpness and completely eliminates vignetting. However, this lens has pretty bad chromatic aberration issues when shooting wide open in contrasty scenes. It's very noticeable, but it significantly improves when stopping down to f1.8 and almost completely disappears at f2.8. It also has noticeable barrel distortion and a slight color shift towards magenta/orange colors. Here you can see a side-by-side comparison with my Sony 20-70mm f4, and the Yongnuo 33mm definitely produces more barrel distortion and warmer colors. However, where this lens has really surprised me is with its sunstar performance. This lens definitely produces big, awesome looking sunstars that start showing up at roughly f4. Personally, I think it looks fantastic because I have never seen a lens to produce such big sunstars, especially at only f4. Now, in terms of bokeh, I think this lens has a lot of character to it. It produces beautiful oval-shaped bokeh on the sides, which reminds me of Zeiss lenses, but it's not perfect because it has a slight halo around the bokeh balls. Overall, I don't think this lens is optically perfect by any means, but personally, I really love the sun stars it produces and the slight vintage touch it has. I recently got the Zeiss 55mm f1.8 for the same reasons. I wanted something with character and not optically perfect. So if you are into this kind of things, you'll really love the Yongnuo 33mm f1.4. Anyhow, I'm going to leave affiliated links for it down below, and while you're there, check out my Sony ZV-E10 LUTs if you want to achieve fantastic color grading results quickly. Thanks for watching.